Hello everyone, this is Dr. Hashem Abu Serhan. Welcome back to our OKAP review series. In today's lectures we are focusing on neonatal conjunctivitis, an essential topic that every ophthalmology trainee needs to master, not just for the exams but for the real world clinical practice. In this session, we'll break it down step by step, covering the key etiologies, how to differentiate them based on the clinical presentation, and the management protocols you need to know cold. By the end, you should feel confident recognizing patterns, answering exam questions, and applying this knowledge in the words. So let's get started. Fill in the blanks. Conjunctivitis occurring within the first month of life is called Ophthalmia Neonatorum. So, is Ophthalmia Neonatorum a common condition? Actually, that depends on two things: the local rates of sexual transmitted diseases and whether the local medical milieu is strong, especially with respect to the pre and perinatal care. So, in resource-rich countries, the prevalence is about 1 in every 1,000 live births. However, in the poor and the resource-poor countries, for example, some parts of East Africa, it's high as 1 out of 10 live births. So it's in some countries rare and other countries very common. So if a sexual transmitted disease is involved, how the condition is transmitted? Mainly the causative organism usually infects the infant through direct contact during passage through the birth canal. So mainly through direct contact through the birth canal, okay? And can infant delivered through cesarean section acquire an sexual transmitted disease based on Ophthalmia Neonatorum? This question basically adds very common misconception between ophthalmology and obstetrics trainees. Actually, yes, it can. And the infection can ascend to the uterus, especially if there is prolonged premature rupture of membrane. So the point being, caesarean delivery is not 100% effective in preventing Ophthalmia Neonatorum. So as we said, conjunctivitis happens during the first month of life. It's called Ophthalmia Neonatorum. The most common cause is chlamydia, no. Gonorrhea, no. Is chemical secondary to the silver nitrate. And this is presents usually within the first 24 hours and improves within 48 hours. So, why silver nitrate currently in the common practice, clinical practice usage? Actually, not commonly used in the resource-rich countries. However, it mainly used because it's effective against gonorrhea. But on the other side, it's ineffective against chlamydia. So mainly effective against gonorrhea, but ineffective against chlamydia. So why rich countries largely replace silver nitrates with two other medications that cover the gonorrhea and chlamydia trachomatis, the erythromycin and tetracycline, because both of them are effective against Neisseria gonorrhea and chlamydia trachomatis. Unfortunately, silver nitrate still used in research countries, yes. And the most common bug in the US, which is the well-developed country, is chlamydia. And if you are saying about the characteristics of chlamydia trachomatis, you should remember that chlamydia is an obligate intracellular bacterium. And if we take a step back and make sure we are on the same page here, there are three conjunctivitis related conditions that chlamydia trachomatis causes in humans. Can you name them? They are trachoma or trachoma, including conjunctivitis and lymphogranuloma venereum. And can you know what determines which condition the bug will cause? The serotypes. And can you know which serotypes cause each subcategory of chlamydia trachomatis infections in humans? For trachoma, the serotypes are A, B, C, and for the including conjunctivitis, the serotypes from D to K, and for lymphogranuloma venereum, the serotypes is L1, L3, L2, L3. So basically, you should remember that lymphogranuloma started with L, so the serotypes that cause are L. And you should remember that trachoma can cause blindness, so P for blindness, trachoma A, B, C. And the others D to K, D to K serotypes causing including conjunctivitis. Out of these three, which are when we talk about chlamydia, ophthalmia neonatorum, we are basically referring to the inclusion conjunctivitis. Inclusion neonatal conjunctivitis caused by chlamydia trachomatis serotypes D to K. And how does chlamydia ophthalmia neonatorum typically present? Usually mild to moderate film discharge, mild swelling of the eyelids, and conjunctival hyperemia. With which types of conjunctival reaction you will see in neonates mainly is papillary reaction. Papillary reaction caused by chlamydia trachomatis, and you should know that because we will differentiate it later on from other types of chlamydia trachomatis infection. That said, severe cases can present with copious discharge and pseudomembrane formation. And this example of severe chlamydial ophthalmia neonatorum with copious discharge, pseudomembrane formation, and there is papillary conjunctival reaction. And we say that in severe chlamydia trachomatis infections, pseudomembranes can happen. What is the main differential point between membranes and pseudomembranes? This what we spoke about in the first lecture. However, we repeat it here that membranes usually the underlying epithelial bed will bleed if membrane is peeled. However, this epithelial bed will not bleed when you peel the pseudomembrane. And how does the neonatal inclusion conjunctivitis differ from the adult version? Three main differentiating points. The first one, that the membrane formation doesn't occur in adults. So pseudomembranes mainly in the neonatal form, but not in the adult form. And the amount of mucopurulent discharge is much less in the adult. However, it's more in the neonatal conjunctivitis. And the third very important point that we talked about previously, that the adult form, the conj reaction is follicular. So this is very important question for MCQs. In neonates, the reaction is papillary, but in adults, the reaction is follicular. And coming to the conjunctival reactions, we have mainly three types of inflammatory responses. We say the follicular, the papillary. Do you know what is the third? The granulomatous. So we say that the most common bug for causing conjunctivitis in the first month of life is in the US is chlamydia, and onset typically happens during the first 7 days of life. And staining usually reveals inclusion bodies, and we'll talk about these inclusion bodies just in a bit. And the best stain is this information you should memorize by your heart. The best stain is James stain. All of these are typical MCQs question. So if we just touch briefly on inclusion bodies, what does an inclusion body look like? It looks like a prominent cap. It looks like a prominent cap that we'll show you in just the following slide, resting on the nucleus of conjunctival epithelial cells. This is an example of conjunctival epithelial cells. This is the nucleus, and this is the prominent cap. Resemble the inclusion body that caused by the chlamydia, and this is James stain. So if you were asked what are the composition of the inclusion bodies, they are chlamydia organisms. And the treatment of chlamydial ophthalmia neonatorum is systemic erythromycin, and we put the systemic in bold. And improper treatment can lead to otitis media and pneumonitis. You should know that. So, coming to the third type, the third cause of conjunctivitis happens within the first month of life, is the most feared bug, which is Neisseria gonorrhea. And how does gonococcal conjunctivitis present? Usually, spectrum of manifestations from mild constriction or discharge to severe chemosis, hyperacute copious discharge. And this is an example of severe Neisseria gonorrhea conjunctivitis. And why we say that Neisseria gonorrhea is the most feared bug? Because there is possibility of corneal involvement can rapidly evolve to ulceration and perforation. And this is an example where you see peripheral corneal ulceration with perforation just happened several days after the onset of hyperacute conjunctivitis caused by Neisseria gonorrhea. And the onset of Neisseria gonorrhea, Ophthalmia Neonatorum, is typically happens within 3 to 4 days of the first life. But this presentation can delay up to 3 weeks. Staining usually reveals intracellular diplococci, and you should memorize this by your heart. These are typical MCQ questions. And the best stain is gram stain. This is an example of a gram stain where you see these intracellular diplococci resembling the Neisseria gonorrhea of Ophthalmia Neonatorum. So we say that if you stain, you will see intracellular diplococci. The best stain is a gram stain. We have two culture medias, selective media and non-selective media. The selective media is thier-martin agar and the non-selective media is chocolate agar. The treatment is systemic ceftriaxone and irrigation. When you should add topical antibiotics, usually there is any corneal involvement. Always when you have Neisseria gonorrhea, you should also treat for chlamydia. And you should check for mother. Also check the mom for chlamydia and gonorrhea as well. And why we say that? Because usually the mother may have multiple sexually transmitted diseases, and if you see an infant with one type, they should be screened for others. And the WHO defines Ophthalmia Neonatorum as hyperacute purulent conjunctivitis occurring in the first 10 days of life. This is the WHO definition of Ophthalmia Neonatorum, and usually caused by Neisseria gonorrhea. And for any other conjunctivitis happens during the first month, basically 28 days to be specific, the WHO term is conjunctivitis of the newborn. So the WHO definition is very specific that Ophthalmia neonatorum is mainly caused by Neisseria gonorrhea, and usually hyperacute purulent conjunctivitis occurs in the first 10 days of life. And any other conjunctivitis happens during the first 28 days of life, the term should be conjunctivitis of the newborn. So for just OKAP purposes, and this is very common MCQ question, time of onset in Ophthalmia neonatorum usually provides an important clue to its etiology. If you see Ophthalmia neonatorum within the first 24 hours, this is chemical, secondary to silver nitrate. And if you see it within 3 to 4 days, it's gonorrhea. Within 7 days, it's chlamydia. And within 10 to 14 days, 2 weeks, usually herpes virus. However, in the real world, these general rules should not be given undue weight.